So this is the iPhone 16 Pro Max, and today we're going to do a speed test comparison against the iPhone 13 Pro Max on iOS 26. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, and let's go ahead and just begin this video with a straight up boot up. So in 3, 2, go, and see which one can get there first. Now for the iPhone 16 Pro Max, we are looking at the latest version of iOS 26 on both sides here, and both of them are actually close to basically a complete version. So you're seeing kind of like what the real world performance is already going to be like, even though it's not the official just yet. I have done some preliminary testing, and I've been pretty impressed with the 13 Pro Max for how old it is. I mean, it's not super old, but it's headed towards its 4th year here. But you can see the 13 Pro Max actually turn on. And when I was actually setting these up, I was thinking like, wow, the 13 Pro Max kind of with this new version has very new life to it. It just feels like a much more modern phone with the liquid glass on the 13 Pro Max. We already expect that for 16 Pro Max, but it felt pretty like revamped. So it's going to be a good thing for you guys on 13 Pro Max. Let's go ahead and head into the biometrics now. Okay, guys, so let's go ahead and take a look at the biometrics here on both phones. If I go ahead and look like that and I swipe in, you can see the animations are essentially identical. And the main difference here is a 6.9-inch phone versus a 6.7. You can definitely see the 16 Pro Max is the larger device. But generally, it doesn't matter which angle you're on. Face ID tends to work very well on both of them. Now, when it does come to the actual swiping between the home screens, both of them actually, because ProMotion made its debut on 13 Pro Max, and this year is also going to be a big year for ProMotion with the base models probably getting the feature, it still runs very well, and kind of just navigating through the general pages is no major issue. That's just like regular use, so we don't have no issues with that. But usually in here in Control Center, we do tend to get a little bit of lag and stuff, but it's not happening here for 13 Pro Max. It does happen on pretty much all iPhones when you click the add control. When you are adding these controls, kind of swiping through here just doesn't look polished. It doesn't look super smooth. So I think Apple needs to work on this a bit. Although that doesn't look too much different than what we see on the 16 Pro Max in speed. So let's go over here and click this. We'll add control, and as we swipe through here, the speed and overall performance kind of looks the same. This is the newest iPhone right now until next week, or a couple days from now, but it still doesn't feel super smooth when adding the controls. Other than that, they tend to navigate at about the same time. Now let's go ahead and confirm the actual software versions. So we'll go over here to settings. We'll scroll down to general, software update, and you can see more details. And we'll go over here to general, software update on both. And we'll go to more details here, and you'll see they're on the exact same version. So this is iOS 26 23A 5336A. So that's definitely the version we're going to be on. Let's get on to the app test now. All right, guys, so everything is closed out for both phones. We're going to start with some basic apps. Don't really show anything in performance, but we just do them because you do open basic apps as well, don't you? Let's go into stopwatch. We'll go to alarms here, and we'll go to world clock. Also, you'll notice that because this visual element is upgraded, it looks more modern on the 13 Pro Max, having these newer ways of navigating the UX. But at the same time, because this doesn't require a lot of power, you can still enjoy that feature. The way it kind of like goes through the applications when you kind of like swipe through here, you can enjoy those elements even on the older phone, no problem. So that it's been working well for even the 13 Pro Max. Going into calculator, no issue. We'll go into App Store. I did notice that the Wi-Fi performance seems faster. Things tend to load faster on the 16 Pro Max, especially like when loading up a lot of content. You'll see that the 13 Pro Max just a step behind, but it's nowhere near anywhere like unusable. Like it's such a small difference that it's not a big deal. Also, because the Apple Intelligence doesn't feel like super polished or like super useful just yet on the iPhone, just using regular chat bots is going to be fine on either phone. We'll go over here to Gemini, and you'll see Gemini did launch first there on the 16 Pro Max. You'll also have a bigger canvas to go ahead, bigger screen to go ahead and generate images and stuff like that. Grok was first on the left, although we did get a pop-up, it was still first on the left. We'll go into Copilot. That was faster on the left as well. And if I swipe up out of here, we'll go into YouTube. faster on the left. And you can see though that the 13 Pro Max is just a step behind. So it's really not going to be, even if you upgrade it to the 17 Pro Max, you're mostly going to notice the design differences. Performance wise, you're going to feel like you have the same phone. Scrolling down, we'll get up out of here. And I'm talking about daily performance. Of course, with the vapor chambers that are on their way to the 17 Pro Max series, you're going to have much better heat performance in bigger titles like Destiny, PUBG Mobile, Call of Duty, Warzone, all these kind of like games that will push the phone. If you play them, you would want to upgrade this year. But so far, if you want to go to the 16 Pro Max when it gets a discounted price, you're also going to get better performance and a much more updated design. We'll go over here to Groupon. But again, like I say, when I was doing the test prior, you can see that the 13 Pro Max is not missing a beat for being nearly a 4-year-old phone. Very impressive. Let's go into Dead Trigger 2. And I think this video should be putting to rest that Apple's slowing down the older phones. I don't think they're doing that because if you kind of see, my 13 Pro Max is just an acceptable amount behind, being that it does have a slower processor. It's like maybe a second. You see on most apps, maybe a second to half a second. Nothing substantial, but definitely slightly noticeable. Let's go out of here. We'll go on RTS. And we'll see Race to Sun is going to launch at exactly the same time. We'll hit play. And as we play, I will say, though, that the 6.9 inch upgrade is noticeable. So if you go to one of these newer iPhones with a 6.9, definitely is quite noticeable to have that jump in size. I actually found like 6.9 is kind of making it a little bit uncomfortable for some people. Personally, it doesn't make it uncomfortable for me. I like the larger screen. I think we're going to see even larger screen in the form of a foldable next year. We'll have to see if that report comes true. We're going to Call of Duty. But here's the thing I'm taking away from the 13 Pro Max. I'm like, bro, I'm testing this. I'm like, people could use this another year, even more than a year, 2 years, maybe even 3 years, and it still would work fine as long as provided they have good enough battery capacity to get through the day. You could also just replace the battery if your battery is going wrong. And I'm not trying to make this video to discourage you from upgrading. And they're in the same account. So the 13 Pro Max didn't win this battle because they're kind of like on the same account. So whoever gets there first was on the same account. I'll go into PUBG Mobile. It won't let me log in on the other one. But I'm not just trying to discourage you from upgrading. I'm just saying that for those of you who are being patient, it's going to pay off, especially if you skip the 16 Pro Max and now you're going to the 17 Pro Max. Your 13 Pro Max is fine. And if you're in a situation where you're not ready to upgrade, your 13 Pro Max is looking really good. It's looking good for the next year for sure. Barely missing a beat against this 16 Pro Max. 16 Pro Max won that battle. It was just on the ad, or not the ad, the preview before it launched. I just forgot to skip it. Let's go into Geekbench 6, faster on the left, and 3D Mark, faster on the left by a hair, and Speed Test Net, faster on the left, and InShot, faster on the left. So I'm seeing about maybe a 0.25 second faster on most of these apps, maybe 0.5 second. So over time, launching multiple applications, that performance difference will add up. You will notice 16 Pro Max is a snappier phone because all of those half a seconds add up throughout the day. And 16 Pro Max will just feel like it's flying compared to the 13 Pro Max. But the 13 Pro Max with these new app animations tend to feel very good. While we're at it, let's just head on to the RAM management now, and we'll see if they start getting reloads. Now, the 16 Pro Max does have double, well, not double, it's got 2 gigs of RAM more than the 13 Pro Max, and we'll see if that plays into anything right here. So far, you can see those animations are definitely faster here on 26. So far, we got the first reload here on the 13 Pro Max. So this is what you'll notice as well. Heavier users, if you do heavy, I mean heavy use, like loading a few apps here and there, it's not going to even be noticeable. It's because it's got 6 gigs of RAM on the right. It's when you start loading way more than what you see here, you might get a couple of relaunches here on the 13 Pro Max. Now that could anger a couple of people if they're using their phone for everything, like they use it for mostly everything and they're doing heavy app switching and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, the 16 Pro Max did a bit better, but only slightly. And this was a lot of applications here open. So I think that's very acceptable performance there on the 13 Pro Max as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at a quick real world test to see how these perform. Okay, so I'm just going to open up a few applications to see how these things perform in actual use. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this post right here, and we'll take a quick comment. Nice iPhone. I'm not going to comment it as my own post. I just kind of want to see how it will perform. And you can see as I swipe through, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of scroll through X here. And you can see a very smooth performance. As I switch applications, I go to ChatGPT, and I'm going to write, tell me a bit about iPhone 17, and we'll see what happens here. It's going to search the web, and it's going to pop up quite a few things, an early glimpse, showing me images there as well, an early glimpse of the iPhone 17 series, release date and availability. You can see right there, pre-orders begin. This is what they're saying. It's going to probably begin on September 12th. So you can see overall, not bad. We're going to go over here now and hit Grok. That's fine. And we'll go over here to YouTube and swipe over here. You can see as I'm using multiple applications, I'm not getting no real issues. Even if I was to be playing a game, I could resume the game, no problem. And the phone just tends to do everything super snappy. So really, the areas that you're going to want to focus on for an upgrade this year is cameras. Always is a big deal. Long battery life is always a big deal. It's the intangibles, things like that are a big deal. The thin factor might be a big deal to some people. So they pretty much got the performance nailed down on that 16 Pro Max. But how will this one perform in similar tasks? So let's go into the iPhone 13 Pro Max. And I'm just going to click this one here. And we'll click nice iPhone, same thing. As we swipe over here, we'll go into a couple more applications. How about we go into X, and we'll scroll a bit here. I am noticing just a little bit slower scrolling. It's nothing serious, but definitely a little bit. When I switch over here, we'll go to ChatGPT and say, tell me a bit about the iPhone 17. We'll click that right there and let it search the web. It's just going to pull up sources like the other phone did. Should be pulling up similar things. So, yep, pulling up basically the same stuff. And as we scroll down here, so you can still do your AI stuff. Again, this scrolling does look a little bit choppier, I think, than the iPhone 16 Pro Max, but it's nothing serious. If I go to Gemini, that's no problem. Grok is fine. And then if I was to be playing a game and I resume here, also not a major issue. You can see you can switch between apps, no problem. So it looks to me like daily performance on the iPhone 13 Pro Max is still doing very well in real world use like that. It seems to be doing very well. And our final Geekbench 6 scores are in, and they would say that the 16 Pro Max is significantly faster, especially on that multi-core score. Not so much in single core, about 1,000 points, but it's not like it's as big as a leap as the multi-core. But definitely, I think these say a little bit more than what you're actually experiencing in the real world. I feel like in the real world, the benchmarks aren't really showing the truth, because you've seen in my real world test that the actual truth is that the daily performance doesn't really feel that different at all. It just feels like a couple of seconds. Now, there's other things that do feel very different, and that is the overall feel. The 16 Pro Max feels significantly different due to its titanium build, its bigger screen, dynamic island, better cameras, camera control button. It does feel significantly different in terms of those areas. But at the core experience of performance, iOS, daily use of an iPhone, it's pretty minimal. So I'll be back when 3D Mark is done to see how they're doing here on 3D Mark for iOS 26. All right, guys, so you can see on Wildlife Extreme scores, we see a pretty big difference though. The frame rates are doubling that on the 16 Pro Max to 26. However, there's something weird that happened here if you look at the charts. So the iPhone 16 Pro Max had a little bit more throttling early on. You'll see right here, bump right there, down right there. So if you take a look, I feel like the 13 Pro Max stayed a bit steadier earlier on, but then just fell off a cliff as the phone warmed up towards the end. So you can see at the very end of that chart. So basically, you're going to have better sustained performance on the 16 Pro Max, obviously. Scoring better than 85% of devices. That actually dropped from 86% in my prior test. If we take a look here, this one's just 39%. So basically, 60% of devices on the market are faster than the 13 Pro Max, which is 15%. Pretty small amount faster than the 16 Pro Max, but 16 Pro Max also not the fastest phone in the world. Even if you might think it's the best, it's definitely not the fastest. So let's go ahead and do one of my final few tests and we'll be up out of here. So I could have swore the Wi-Fi was just faster on the 16 Pro Max. So let's see if that is the case here in this Wi-Fi speed test. We'll start here on the left, pulling in close to, and this is going to be network dependent. You know, right now it's Sunday, everybody's using my internet. It's going to be a little bit slower. See 225. Finishing with 210 there. And sorry about the noise. I was drinking some water. You can see right there, 5 on the upload, 6 going on 6. That is horrible. Hopefully this upload goes kind of quick later, 7 or 8. So nothing crazy there. Let's go ahead and see if the 16 Pro Max beats the 13 Pro Max. And you can see this is pulling in quite a bit less so far, but it's closing in now even higher. Okay, so this one's pulling in a bit better Wi-Fi speed. That's why I don't really do these too much, because it's so, you know, network dependent. You could rerun this test and probably can get better than the prior version. But yeah, the 13 Pro Max did better here, but now doing worse on the upload. So there you go. A worse upload, faster download. Let's go ahead and do we're going to do a quick camera test now. I'm going to use this Microsoft Surface pen here that I use for my Surface Pro. Let's go ahead and pull out there. And we're going to go ahead and hit the camera on both in 3, 2, go. And that was faster on the left. We'll do it again. 3, 2, go. Pretty similar. As we zoom through the range though, the iPhone 16 Pro Max, very smooth. iPhone 13 Pro Max, equally as smooth and really good camera still. Although the iPhone 13 Pro Max does present a bit more noise on the zoom range than the 16 Pro Max, which is much better in zoom. The final verdict for iOS 26, 16 Pro Max performing as expected. You would expect it to perform great. It's doing very well. 13 Pro Max, shockingly good though on iOS 26, and it's not getting much warmer than it did on the prior versions. So going into the next year, if you are keeping your 13 Pro Max, it's pretty evident based on this speed test, and we did a couple of real world tests as well. 13 Pro Max seems like it's going to be fine. But if you do want to upgrade, pretty much everything is being upgraded this year on this 13 Pro Max. Better camera, you're going to have better battery, bigger display, way faster chip, vapor chamber. So a true max upgrade is coming here in a couple days. So we gotta look out to see what happens there. But we'll rerun this one against the 17 Pro Max soon. For those of you with the 16 Pro Max, you just got the phone probably within the past year, so you're good to go. Thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.